And what during what period was that?
February of '02 to March of '09.
Okay. So where were you raised?
I was raised in Maryland.
Uh-huh.
Moved down here in 1991.
91?
I was like 13, I want to say.
13 years old?
Mm-hmm.
And so is there a family history of service?
My dad served in Vietnam. He was in Vietnam for... He wasn't there long. I think it was like 3 days before he got shot.
Oh, wow.
And they sent him back to Hawaii
Uh-huh.
to rehab, and then sent him back to California, and then he got out. He wasn't in long, maybe 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
What, did he talk a lot about those 3 days in Vietnam?
No, just that he still had shrapnel in his legs. Other than that, he doesn't really talk too much about it. His dad was in, which would have been my grandfather. He died in World War II.
Uh-huh.
He was actually killed in combat. So
Okay. So was military service spoken about as something that was honorable or good as you were growing up, or wasn't it something that was really discussed at all?
no, he was talking about something that was honorable and something good to do.
Uh-huh.
Something that helped you in life.
Mm-hmm.
Something that was a good experience. If something you go up to want to do, something that was definitely told to me throughout my life. That would be good for me to experience.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Brothers, sisters?
I have 2 brothers and 3 sisters. I have 3 brothers, but one died when he was 10.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 living brothers and 3 living sisters.
Were your brothers older than you, or younger than you?
2 of them were older than me.
2 of them were older.
One's deceased.
Okay.
And then, so I'm the 3rd one in line.
Okay. Okay. And did anybody join in your...
Just me.
Just you?
Yeah, just me. Just me. I was the bravest, only brave one to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you tell me about the decision to join. This is what's interesting, is that it was February of 2002, so we're talking 6 months after 9/11, right? Yeah. How old were you when 9/11 happened?
I was 24.
24. Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was in Williston. I was actually, I worked for Aero Pest Control here in Gainesville. I was actually over off of, can't think of the road that runs. There's 20th, and then that road that runs beside it. The fire station's at the end of it. I can't think of that road. But I was over there putting a termite system in the apartment complex. And then the guy I was working with, he actually got this stick bug of spit some stuff in his eyes. So we actually went to Shands, and that's where I was when we seen it on TV. And I was like, whoa. I mean, that kind of prompted me to join too, but I always kind of wanted to do it since I was little. But what really made me want to do it even more is because my wife, she has a chronic illness, Crohn's, and wouldn't no insurance cover her because it's pre-existing.
Yeah.
So that kind of put me over the, okay, fine. Look, she's sick, she needs care. So.
When did you get married?
I got married August 23rd of 97.
97. I guess you were
just 2 years out of high school.
Yeah, you were young. 20-year-old.
Yeah.
22-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, no, young.
Yeah, I was young.
Yep. So there was, on the one hand, there was you'd always wanted to do it as a kid too. What was it about the military that kind of drew you into it? That made you...
It just seemed cool. It just seemed cool. You shoot guns and blow up stuff, and you just get to have a field day, and you get paid for it. Who wouldn't want to, experience that? That's just awesome.
So it was, okay. And then 9/11 also.
Yeah.
So you joined in 2000. I got to remember back then. I remember recruiters were all too eager to take anybody who walked through the door.
Yes,
yeah,
anybody.
And what was your experience with the recruiter?
They didn't recruit me. I actually went to them. I was like, look, I'm ready to go. So I took the ASFAB like 2 weeks later, and then they called me and said you passed, and I picked a job, and I actually went to basic training on Valentine's Day.
Oh wow!
What a Valentine's Day, huh? See you later, honey. I gotta go.
Yeah, this wasn't in part for you, so
right, yeah,
this is my gift to you as well.
Yeah.
How did she think about you joining the military?
She was behind me all the way. She knew what the reasons why I was doing it, and to help her, but also something that I wanted to always do since I was little. So she was behind me all the way.
So, do you? What job did you sign up for?
Combat engineer.
Combat engineer.
Basically, is blowing up obstacles that are in your way, or if they put a minefield down, clearing the minefield, And then also building bridges if we had to get over.
Got it.
Or like a river or something, we could construct a bridge to get everybody over.
Okay.
And then disassemble that bridge after everybody got over.
Understood. So it's not EOD.
No.
But like some of the skills are overlapping a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Like say if they put a bunch of barbed wire up 6 feet high and we had to get through there, and we just go and take some Bangalore torpedoes, put them underneath the fence, kind of facing that way, blow them up, and then it'll blow a big old hole where we can drive right through.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. So this is just a question that you know, when you were joining, the invasion of Afghanistan was just underway, right? So you knew that there was a chance that you would get deployed, and a likelihood.
Definitely.
And of course Iraq hadn't happened yet. But was that something that scared you, or scared your wife, or had that been spoken about before?
It hadn't really been spoken about.
Yeah.
Because I was just fresh into basic, so kind of concentrate on that and getting through that at first, because that's really the first time that I had been away from my family in a while for that amount of time.
Yeah.
For 3.5 months.
And it's 3.5 months with like no contact.
No contact other than phones. Yeah. So no face to face, no nothing.
Tell me about your first day of basic. What you remember, if you remember.
It was. I thought it was fairly easy at first because you just have some young kid get on the bus and he's like, "Welcome to basic training. You're going to get off the bus and you're going to go here and sit down and have a seat, and then we'll tell you what to do from there." And sometimes you see videos and you see this drill sergeant come out with a hat on, but no, it's just this young guy, private, come walking on the bus and no hollering and screaming. I'm like, well, this is going to be easy. And then you get all your uniforms and you get all your stuff and you go to the barracks at night, and the drill sergeant's there, but he's not like screaming. I mean, he gets a little loud, but he doesn't get like. But then once you get in that cattle truck, it's over. Life has begun.
So they put you in the barracks, and then they put you so that.
Well, when you have processing, you have like a week of processing, and you stay in the barracks of processing, and then like on that Friday morning, you get sent to your training platoon, training barracks, and that's when
all hell breaks loose.
That's when all hell breaks loose.
So they put you in an actual cattle truck.
Yeah, they pile us all up, and pile you in there as much as you can get.
So you're like standing like this, and then like a
duffel bags piled up in front of you, and you're just facing the wall. You can't look anywhere else because they got to get everybody. Yeah, you're like a herd of cattle in a cattle truck.
And then they just drop the back.
No, they open up the side doors.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, you got to go in like that. Then you get to your thing, and they open it up, and they're screaming, "Get out, get out." So you got to run, trying to carry all these bags and get into a formation. And,
It's that culture shock, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'm not a young kid. I'm 24, and I'm like, I had a drill sergeant who was 27. Only 3 years older than me. He's hollering me in my face, and I'm like, it's like, what can you do? You're almost the same age, and he's hollering at you and all up in your face, and it's just.
Are there any anecdotes that stand out from basic training that are funny or bizarre or?
Oh yeah, it just a slew of them. It's just one time I got in trouble for something, and I had to go to the drill sergeant's office, and he got on to me and he's like, "Beat your face," and I'm like, "So beat your face?" I took my fist and start. He's like, he had to turn around because he's about to start laughing, and he turned back around. He's like, "Beat your face," and I'm like, he's like, "Do push-ups." I was like, "Oh." So I didn't know. I thought beat your face. I started beating my face, but it meant to do push-ups. So it just went. He was cool. That was the 27-year-old, and me and him were kind of cool from there on out. He volunteered me. I painted the barracks one night. Painted till like 2 a.m.
Wow.
He actually let me. It was about 5 of us. He actually let us sleep in a little longer than everybody else. We didn't have to do PT that morning, so it was.
I love that phrase you used just now, which is like, he volunteered me. Which is the other one is voluntold, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but
that's funny.
It was cool, but you had your moments, and some guys would one time went and got try to get a little Debbie. Well, they just got lit into because they call them fatty cakes. He's like, "What are you doing eating that fatty cake?" Took it off his tray and threw it away. just guys were trying to get a lot of food at chow time and
Many
couldn't carry it all.
like,
and
yeah.
one time the drill sergeant just said, "Give me that," and just threw it down on the ground. He had to clean it up because he had got too much food. He didn't need to have. We only had a certain amount of time to eat, so like the first platoon, they would go in to eat. By the time we sat down, they were told to get up, and it wasn't. It couldn't have been 5 minutes.
Wow.
They have 5 minutes to eat their food. We come in right behind them. We have 5 minutes to eat ours. So it's like you don't have time to put salt and pepper on it, and you have to devour it if you want to eat.
That's one of the
or you go to
stories.
bed hungry.
I've heard that quite a lot. Where guys like you step in, like especially the first day, and you've been doing PT, and then it's like, all right, you're gonna get something to eat, and then the moment you put down your tray, you're up out of the door again, and it's like you're just like eating as you're going.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah, it is brutal. We got one guy he got caught talking in the chow line. So we had our dinner. They actually gave us time to eat. I was like, something ain't right here. They're giving us too much time to eat. The guys were eating seconds. I'm like, this isn't good. And it was Easter Sunday. We got back, and all of us got into, on my platoon, a lot of us got in the shower. They asked, could we get in the shower? And acting, they make soldiers the acting platoon sergeants.
Yeah.
So I guess he didn't go act the actual drill sergeant. So he told us, yeah, we can get in the shower. And pretty much everybody got in the shower. And next thing you know, the drill sergeant's coming out there and telling us to get outside. And we literally got drug up and down the field out in front of our barracks for 3 hours because we weren't supposed to get a shower. So all of us were just, and it was raining. We got muddy, dirty, just to say that guy's lucky he didn't get beat up because, we were out there for 3 hours. Guys were puking because they ate so much dinner. And we were just all dirty and muddy. And we had to clean all that up. We couldn't go in the barracks all dirty and muddy. So it was just 3 hours of
But that logic of like
hell.
Accountability, like he's lucky he didn't get beat up because of what he put the rest of the platoon through.
Right. For not actually going and asking, just saying, yeah, get a shower. Yeah, it was brutal. Brutal Easter Sunday.
Do you remember, when you graduated, did your wife join you?
Yes, my wife, my son, my mom, my grandma, my brother, they all drove up to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Okay, Fort Leonard Wood, I should have asked.
Yeah.
How old was your son at the time?
He was, I went in 2002. He was born in 2000, so he was 2.
2, okay.
Yeah, 2 at the time. Yep.
Yeah. And then you get a couple of weeks off before you go to AIT, or what was?
Well, no, it was all we did. Ours was called OSUT, One Station Unit Training.
Okay.
So we did basic and AIT together.
Okay.
That's why it was 3.5 months.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
I was home for I graduated May 30th. I was home for 2 weeks for what they call kind of recruiter assistant training. Go to the recruiting station to help them. I was home for 2 weeks for that, and then I actually, went to Fort Stewart. That's where I was stationed at.
Okay.
And went and lived there, and I was only there for. I was only there for 3 months. We deployed in August.
Oh, wow, that quickly?
Towards the end of August, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's no, you didn't get a year between like a lot of guys. It was like.
Oh no. Because they were telling us in basic training, the drill sergeants were telling us, look, you're going to be in Iraq within a year. You guys are going to be in Iraq.
They knew that Iraq was coming?
Oh, yeah. They knew. I think people knew. That's what they were telling us. They're like, you guys got to get prepared. They're like, most of you guys sitting in this room right now are going to be in Iraq in less than a year.
What month in 2002 did you say you joined? August, right?
February.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you would have been right there, right at the beginning of Iraq, of the Iraq invasion.
Well, I was actually there when I was part of the initial invasion.
Oh, wow.
We went in, like I say, we deployed in August of 2002. And then around November, my wife was needing to have some treatments where she couldn't drive home by herself. So I had to get sent back home until her treatments were done. Then I went back, it was like 1st of December, and we could hear them bombing. They had already been bombing Iraq. They were bombing them at that time. And we kind of knew it was coming. And then it was like in end of February, they actually moved us out of where we were living in Kuwait and put us out in the desert because the 101st was coming in. And then it was like March, I want to say March. We've been living out in the desert about 2 weeks, and then March 20th, they told us,
You're going in.
Yeah, we're going in. So that night, actually got our briefing that night, and then on the morning of the 21st, we went in.
So you're in the desert. How far? Where? How did you flew from commercial, from the States?
Flew from Savannah,
Uh-huh.
Hunter Army Airfield, flew to Baltimore, and then from Baltimore to Germany.
And Germany's
And
the
from
staging area to Kuwait.
No, and then from Germany to Kuwait.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Long flight.
Yeah.
20 some hours.
And so do you remember crossing into Iraq, crossing the berm? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Actually, the night of the 20th, like, we went to bed. Well, they told us to lay down at 2000 hours, which is 8 o'clock. And they actually started shooting artillery shortly after. And I think we crossed at like 04 in the morning. Wasn't much for like, I want to say for at least 4 or 5 hours. It wasn't really much. It just open desert and old vehicles from the Desert Storm, what they call a boneyard. A lot of those for about 4 hours before we finally really seen anything, Wasn't really just open desert, not a lot there.
So they were firing artillery to clear forward? Is that make the point?
I guess you could say, just like shooting on objectives, just trying to destroy targets.
Got it. Okay. So 4 or 5 hours in, and then you started seeing what?
Then you just start seeing, little communities here and there. And not really much resistance until the next day. When you start getting into firefights, like I say, it just wasn't a whole lot of. And then once, I want to say, April 7th was for me, it was a big day because that's when we went into Iraq. A company before us wanted to, they went to the airport, a brigade before us went to the airport.
Baghdad Airport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got a big firefight there, and our brigade commander wanted to go and see. So we actually went up Highway 8, and that's when we seen our first action. We went for about 3 hours, actually.
3 hour firefight?
Yeah, because we probably traveled 10 miles to get to the airport.
So I have a couple of questions that kind of provide the context for these kind of firefights. What vehicles were you in?
I was in an armored personnel carrier.
Okay.
Trying to see how I can explain. It's a tracked vehicle. It's not real big. It could fit maybe 7 people in it, 8 people at the most. With the driver.
You say it's a track vehicle. Okay.
Yeah. So we weren't in a wheeled vehicle. We were in a track vehicle. And you got to be. You got to be about 15 meters behind the vehicle in front of you. So you might have 20 vehicles, but it's going to stretch maybe a mile, So and we had a lot of vehicles which stretched. It probably stretched, 4 or 5 miles. So everybody has to get through that area, and it was just...
Takes a while.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So they were just... and this was the Republican Guard that was fighting at the time, was it? Or who was...
Well... No, Republican Guard was more considered like his special forces guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
No, this was the actual
Iraqi
army. Yeah. So these guys were, I don't know, they were brainwashed or something because they would just put a machine gun on the back of it like a little S-10 pickup truck and come right down the road in front of a tank, head on with it, and just fire that machine gun like they were
gonna win,
gonna accomplish something.
Yeah.
And that tank just put a little heat right into it, and it's pretty much gone. Done. Everybody in it's gone. So, yeah.
And when you're in this armored personnel vehicle, you've got this 3 hour firefight. You're moving slowly through this gauntlet. It seems. Is it like a gauntlet of machine gun fire? Is that what it was? Or artillery?
No, it's just sporadic small arms fire. They like 2 days later, we actually went to Baghdad, and they had set up a minefield, but it wasn't armed. The mines weren't, and it was right in front of a building, and on top of the building, they had a guy with an air defense missile. And we went through it like 5 or 6 in the morning. He was asleep, didn't even know we came through. We just moved the mines out of the way. But they killed him, but he was asleep. He didn't even know we were coming through. I mean, he could have really done some damage, but they just, I don't know, they weren't that well trained, I guess you could say. I mean, they did the best they could with small arms, but they weren't real
And
successful.
in a weird way, they were like, this is what's interesting about those initial days, is that it was like you had a conventional army.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't a great conventional army in some sense. Yeah. So you drove into Baghdad?
The second, April 9th.
April 9th?
After we drove to the airport, April 7th, we came back, we restaged, and then 2 days later, we actually went into Baghdad. And that's where we had a lot more resistance because, we had the Special Forces guys in there. And we actually were in this area we had like it was just, looked like a kind of a stadium, but it was their version of the Tomb of the Unknown.
Mm-hmm.
And we were around that, and we actually were getting shot at with artillery for like 3 hours. I mean, it was pretty scary because they had hotels close by, and somebody was in those hotels because, we could be here, and artillery laying here, and then we could move over here, and artillery were laying here. And we're like, somebody is walking them guys in on us. And we were all buttoned up, all the windows and doors, well, not windows, all the hatches that we had were buttoned up. And, it was just getting scary because you would move and it would just get closer and closer and closer. And it took 3 hours for them to find him before they could finally, take him out so where he couldn't keep, walking them in on us.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty scary.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the most scariest times for me because you're like, what is going on? Can they find these guys?
And it's also like you're helpless because you're just stuck in this vehicle.
And
right?
you can't see nothing.
You can't see
There's
anything.
no windows or anything. You can't. The only person I can see is the driver, and he can kind of maneuver, But still, they're over there miles away saying, "Hey, go 20 feet to the right." Boom. They're just walking the artillery in on us. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very scary time.
And inside, was it just like boom, and then the vibration through the metal, and
Yep.
And what were people talking about? Was
honestly, we were just like, y'all got to find these guys. This is getting scary. No matter where we move, they're getting within 10 feet of us. So, they just
within 10 feet?
Yeah. We actually got out one time because they wanted us to clear a building. So we got out and we went and cleared the building. And one had to have landed 20 feet, maybe. And it was close enough to where stuff, hit us. It wasn't hard enough to penetrate us, but the actual debris, actually hit us. So we were like, we're not clearing this building. We got back in the vehicle, buttoned up, and we moved. So, but finally, they had got him. I mean, we knew somebody was there too because when we first came in there, a sniper shot one of our guys in the shoulder. Not in my vehicle; he was in another vehicle.
Okay.
But they shot him, and we knew we were going to have a time in there. So.
And how long was that? That was like 3 hours, 4 hours.
3 or 4 hour fight. And then we had to move. You ever seen the pictures of the cross?
Mm-hmm.
The knife? Yep.
It's the swords, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we moved to. We were right in that area, but that's where we staged after we finally got everything settled down. That's where we kind of stayed there for a couple of days.
So you were just setting up camp and moving, So you're setting up a perimeter.
Can't really stay stationary for too long.
No, of course.
Yeah. But after we left that area, we finally went to. He had like a park that had like little. Like one section of it had rides, like a carnival. One section had like a zoo, and it had different areas inside the gated thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we actually lived for the remainder of the time we were there.
You stayed in a theme park.
Yeah, we stayed in, and they had houses in there. We stayed in like a roundhouse. That was our area. Each company had a certain area, so we actually had to patrol that park because you had people coming in. They said that Saddam spent their money to make that park, so they were coming to get light fixtures. They were coming in to get the little covers that cover the plug-ins. Anything that they thought was theirs, they would come and get it. But we had to keep them out of there, so we would do patrols around there all day because they were coming in. Yeah, there was a building probably it's about as big as this bottom floor that had weapons in it, brand new AKs and brand new pistols. They were in like Foot Locker boxes. And we were actually taking them outside and going to blow them up, but they're like, this is just too many. We'll just blow the whole building. Well, we blew the whole building, but then they just kept coming back for the pieces, because the pieces they could make money off of. So we had to keep them out of there. So it was a big, what you couldn't, because the park was so big, once you got where they couldn't see you, they're just jumping the fence, coming in, getting the pieces and going out, So you really couldn't keep them out of there, but tried the best you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the zoo, they had animals in there. One time, I think either a lion or two got out. So our second platoon had to go. We're in a war, right? We had to go lion killing. So they had to go kill. They had to go kill the lions before they actually got to us, because they were hungry.
Yeah.
They were going to eat anything they could. So, yeah. I think they spent like 2 hours in the middle of a war hunting lions. Instead of hunting Iraqis, we're hunting lions. You ain't got to worry about them, you got to worry about lions.
Wow. So how long have you stayed there for?
We were there until, we got there in April. We were there till I want to say about the 1st of June.
Okay.
And then they sent us to Fallujah. Because 101st, they went there and they couldn't keep things under control. So we had to go relieve them. And we were in Fallujah until it was time to go home. Until we came home in August.
That was, Fallujah was tough.
Oh yeah, very tough. Very tough. Rumor was 101st was firing into crowds, and you're not supposed to do that because of ROE. If you see a crowd of 50 people and somebody shoots from out of that crowd, you just can't fire back in there because you have to be able to identify the target before you shoot. So rumor was it was getting kind of hectic for them because they were doing that. So we went relieve them, and we kind of had it under control once we left. But I hear after we left, you pull it back home, the Marines went in there and just... Yeah,
that was the Battle of Fallujah, right?
Yeah.
Those was the sniper.
It got pretty hairy for them, and they burnt those contractors and hung them from the bridge. And, we actually had it under control and pretty peaceful.
Yeah. So the rules of engagement in that scenario are it's got to be tempting, right?
Yeah, it's not good for soldiers. It's just not. We couldn't fire into mosques or churches. Yet on April 7th, when we were going down Highway 8, there was a mosque, and the guy was in top of the mosque shooting out. But we couldn't shoot back because it's a mosque. So we just had to take cover and hopefully we don't get shot.
So these combatants were aware of the rules of engagement and were using them to their advantage, do you think?
I don't know if they were aware of the whole rules of engagement, but I think they were aware that we couldn't shoot into churches or mosques, places of worship.
Yeah.
Because they would use those to their advantage. So.
Are there any other events or moments that stand out from that deployment?
Yeah, I think I want to go back to April 7th. We were, the day before that, the military's, what do you want to call it? The military intelligence, I guess you could say. They went through, they got the Humvees with the big speakers on top. They went through letting them know, letting all that area know that we're coming through the next day. Things going to get pretty hairy here. You need to get out or you need to stay in your house and don't come out. Evacuate now or stay in your house and don't come out. But we were actually, when we went up that day, we actually went underneath the bridge, and then on the other side there was a fuel truck that had got shot. So it's leaking fuel, and then probably 10 feet in front of that there was a ammo truck that had got blown up. So you got rounds in there, they're just popping off, they're going everywhere. And then on the other side you had this family who, I guess for some reason, they decided to leave that day. Well, they're going this way, and the enemy truck is coming this way. So the tank shoots the enemy truck. Well, he runs into that truck, that vehicle with civilians, and they're all burnt up. The mom is behind the vehicle holding the baby on the ground. The dad is in front of the vehicle just squiggling like a worm. Or no, the brother is. The dad is beside the vehicle squiggling like a worm. There's a little 3-year-old. She's burnt. And then he had to be 7. And his pinky is hanging almost to the ground. The skin is stretching. And he's just walking around like this. He's walking into the vehicle because he's burnt. He can't even feel it. He's walking towards us, then he walks back, then he walks across the street, and his mom says something to him, comes and gets his sister, and then he walks back the street. And it's like, you're helpless because you can't do anything. We're in a firefight. You know, we can't call the medics up to help them because if we do, who's to know there's not an ambush set up? So it's like, you're worrying about your life on this side with the fuel truck leaking and the ammo truck cooking off, and then you're worrying about this family here that just, in my opinion, made a horrible decision to leave that day when they could have left the day before. And they're helpless. And it's just, I think about it every day. You wonder if that family is still alive, you know? But that was horrific. I mean, that's probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. So you just don't know whether they made it or not, you know?
And that firefight, I mean, there was just no way to them, right? There was no way to get to them.
No, I mean, just because you couldn't get to the other side to kind of set off a perimeter, you know, to kind of put people on the other side to where we could pull security. So you had them here, and we're already stopped because a commander's tank got hit. So they're trying to cross-load and get him onto another vehicle and leave that tank there. So we're stuck right there. We're not even moving for like 20 minutes. You're watching them, and then you're worried about this. You know, so it's like, finally towards the end, they did send a medic vehicle out there, but it was time to go. So it wasn't much. I honestly don't think there was much they could have did for them. I mean, they were, maybe the mom holding the baby, but the other ones were just so burnt. I just don't.
The mom and the baby weren't burnt. They
weren't burnt as bad as the dad and the little brother and the older brother. I mean, they were pretty burnt. It was horrific.
So that was an 11-month deployment?
Let's see, we went to war in March. About 6.
6 months?
But total. It was, because I went there.
5 years.
It was almost because I went there in September, for training. We would just go there for 6 months. It was called a 6-month spring something deployment, which then turned into, about 11 months total.
How was communication home possible, or if at all?
It was actually the first, like right April, I want to say into March. We went somewhere. We actually had a reporter embedded with us.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he let us that night. He let us use his the big sat phone, I guess you could say.
Satellite phones, yeah.
Yeah, he let us use that for like I think we each got like 15 minutes.
Sweet.
Yeah, I know it cost him a pretty penny, but I mean that was awesome for us. Just 15 minutes, you know, just because you got your family. My wife told me she watched it from soon as CNN started covering it. She was watching it the whole way, so they're already worried seeing all that's going on, you know, and just for them to hear you for that brief time, kind of helps them, you know, settle them down, let you know you're okay, you know. So,
where did you fly out of? Baghdad or Kuwait?
For
come home.
Kuwait.
Kuwait. Yeah. So you go back.
Yeah. Yep.
Had MSR Tampa been set up yet, or was that?
I don't
call that yet.
think so. I don't think so. We flew out of Camp Doha in Kuwait, and that's where we flew into anytime we came in, and then we would fly to from there to Baghdad.
Okay. Yeah. So you what was it like coming home? Remember that moment?
Like coming home for sure, or coming home on leave?
Coming home. Well, coming home for both. What was leave like?
Well, that was. It was good to come home, but it's like my wife wanted me to drive the car the next day, and so we're leaving to go somewhere, and I just pull out in the road on 27. We lived in Williston at the time, and I just went down one of the side streets, and then I just pulled out onto the road, and she's like, it almost got hit. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sorry." I said, "We don't stop
for nothing.
We don't stop for anything in Iraq.
Yeah.
So we just keep going." I said, I had a mind lapse. I thought I was at home. I mean, because we literally don't stop. If there was a traffic jam in Baghdad, you'd see the cars split like the Red Sea, because they knew if they didn't get out of our way, we'd shoot them. So they just got out of the way, and we just kept going. We never stopped. So I didn't even bother to look at the stop sign. I just went right out on the 27. We were going to Ocala, and the cars were honking. I was like,
sorry.
I had to realize, come back and realize I was at home, that I couldn't, you couldn't do that. You had to stop at a stop sign.
Was it also like interesting, like that shift from being in like the brotherhood in action,
right,
to like being in like family?
Yeah,
Was that a difficult shift?
yeah. Because even though you're home and you're with your family, you're still thinking about what's going on back there. Are they safe? What's happening? Kind of, you kind of sort of want to get back to them. I mean, you're home for 18 days and they're going to go by fast, but you're kind of ready to get back. Because you don't want to leave them hanging. You want to be there to help protect them as much as they protect you when you're there. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like,
Is there guilt, like when you're home, you feel guilty about being home as opposed to being there? Or is it something that you're like, yeah, I deserve this now, I need a break?
yeah, I'd probably say there's some guilt.
Yeah.
Some guilt that you're leaving your brothers over there in harm's way without you being there. But knowing they can handle it kind of, relieves some of the pressure off you, knowing you got a good group of soldiers over there that can handle it.
Yeah.
It's not,
Gotcha.
it's not something they can't take care of,
So then, and then coming home finally, you're active duty still, so you're like...
Yeah, it's, it took me a while to adjust to things, especially like driving. If I seen an abandoned vehicle on the side of the road, I made sure I went as far as away from the vehicle as I could, because you're still in that mindset. Could there be a bomb in that vehicle and it's a V-bed? It's going to explode.
Yeah.
Same way with trash. Always swerved around trash. If I seen somebody walking down the road, I watched them in my rearview mirror until they were out of my sight. It's just instinct. I just watched them, make sure they didn't like jet off into the woods and going to plant a bomb or something. On the side of the road. So,
Were VBIDs and IEDs, they weren't so much a feature of that initial invasion.
No, they were towards the end of our deployment the first time.
Yeah.
That's when they really started using them. And
Yeah.
the second time I went back in 2005, that was their weapon of choice. They were being cowards. Instead of fighting us with small arms or machine guns or something, instead of being a man about it, they were being cowards and using these,
remote detonators
IEDs or V-beds. Yeah.
So tell me about the lead up to that second deployment in 2005. So you'd been once already.
Mm-hmm.
Were you still with the same company?
Same company. Yep. Same unit.
Same unit.
So,
and you were making rank this stage?
Yeah.
What was your rank when you got the orders?
The second time?
Yeah.
I was at E5 the second time.
E5. So you made sergeant.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when I got back, I'm 86. I'm 86 in 5 years.
Wow, that's quick.
Went pretty fast, yeah. But the second time, I was leading up to that. We had done training, and then we were doing something. I'm trying to think of what it was. We were doing some big special ceremony thing, and I was out there working with my company with the guidon carrier, and the battalion commander seen me, and he said he had heard stuff about me, and he wanted to know if I wanted to be on his security team. And I thought that was, pretty awesome. So I said yes, and then he moved me up to the battalion, and I worked with him, and then, more guys. So there was I want to say it was about 12 of us that were specifically assigned to him throughout that second deployment. We were his, what they called the PSD, his personal security detachment.
Mm-hmm.
So anywhere he went, we went. And when he got out, 2 or 3 of us would, surround him and
Create a little perimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everywhere he went, they went. Yeah.
Was there a sense of safety associated with being with somebody that high ranking? Because were you accompanied by attack helicopters or?
No, it was just us. We had 4 Humvees.
That's a small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, he wanted to be the lead. And a lot of times that Humvee was the one to get hit. And we were amazed. We're like, wow, this is somebody we want leading us. I mean, he wasn't scared. He's like, I'm going to be the lead Humvee, and I'm going to lead us everywhere we go. And he let us everywhere we went.
What was his rank?
He was Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He let us everywhere we went. He was the lead Humvee. And if you heard a blast, we knew we could be in our rooms just relaxing. If we heard a blast, we knew it was time to go. We just put on all of our gear, head up to the battalion headquarters and pick him up and roll out. He wanted to be anywhere there was a blast involving his guys. He wanted to be there. He wanted to be the first one. Yeah.
So are there again that second deployment moments or events that kind of stand out for you, or
probably doing 20 memorial services in a 3-week time span. Yeah. Well, because we're a new unit. We just released somebody, so they were testing us. I mean, they were just every day. I was talking to this one guy's name was Sergeant Brooks. He was getting ready to, when he was going to return back, he was going to be a drill sergeant. And believe it or not, you still want to keep your uniform nice when you're over there. So I went and asked him, could I borrow his iron? So I go and borrow his iron. And then 2 days later, you hear a blast. You go to the blast, and he's in the Humvee dead. So it's like, now you're doing, it's like, you just talked to him 2 days ago. He's all pumped up and ready to go to drill sergeant school, and now he's in the vehicle with his, front seat with his, just sitting there like this, dead. And then you're doing a memorial service for him 2 days later, and it's just back to back. I mean, we probably did 4 or 5 in a week for like that first initial 3 weeks. And then it kind of calmed down, they kind of took some time off, and then they hit you again, So
this was IEDs and mortars?
IEDs, mortars,
small arms fire, everything. And at this stage, it was the insurgency already, right? Is how it was being referred to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bad guys, the Taliban in Iraq. And I recall one time I was going to go take a shower. I think it was in the morning time. I walk outside, I got my towel on over my shoulder, and I hear I said, whoop, let me turn around. Turn around and go back into my room, and it hits down at the end of our, what they call a fob. It hit where the MPs were living. It hit down there. So, they had to sound the siren. I knew I had to change to get up there to the battalion because, the colonel's going to want to go somewhere soon.
So where was this fob? Where were you situated?
We were in East Baghdad.
East Baghdad.
We were we were like 30 minutes from Sadr City.
Oh, okay.
Sadr City.
Yeah.
We were by Camp Liberty was where the brigade was, and we were in Camp. I got the camp right on the tip of my tongue. I can't even think of it. But we were just, we were close to the brigade. Our camp was.
And so did you were stationed there the entire period of your deployment?
Yep,
and so the lieutenant colonel would just like shoot out to wherever it was regionally that there'd been an IED or a...
Yeah. And then every day, we'd go, like every Tuesday, he had a meeting with the city, I guess called the city leaders. So every Tuesday we would go and post at this place where he went inside and had a meeting. And then most of the time he just wanted to go around, and sometimes we would just ride. And then too, he always had his days he'd go visit the companies within the battalion. He'd go visit them, and of course, we had to take him there, and then he'd ride back, and then every Sunday he gave us off. We had Sundays off, unless we heard a blast, then we knew it was time to. So we were always busy.
So when you were coming back, it would have been around. Or would it be about maybe the middle of your deployment? You would have been come up for re-enlistment time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I re-enlisted over there.
Okay.
Yeah, I re-enlisted in. I went on leave. I think it was in May. I re-enlisted and got a $15,000 bonus, and then I get back.
Tax free.
Yeah, but and then I get back and they raised it $7,500. I was like, wow, if I would just waited a month, I could have got 22. Instead, I got 15. So, yeah. So then, we get back in January of 06. And then it's like a few months after that, they sent me to leadership school because I had an 85. And then shortly after that, I had some back problems when I was over there. And then I had a lot. Once I went to school, I couldn't do sit-ups very good. So they sent me to the doctor, and the doctor said I had a herniated disc. So I had to have surgery.
Was that from the Kevlar and the weight and everything that you were carrying?
I'm assuming because we carried at least 80 pounds on our chest. We had plates here, and we had a plate here, a plate here. You have 7 rounds of magazines fully loaded, and you have canteens, and then you hold your weapon. You got your Kevlar on,
and that weighs a good 5 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Kevlar.
And you're standing like that for 8 hours a day. So it takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
So I had back surgery, and then I tried to train. Once I got done in rehab, then I tried to train. I was still having issues. So I went for a med board, and they reclassed me. I reclassed to chemical, and went out to Fort Polk, Louisiana.
For training?
No, that was my new duty station.
Oh, okay.
Because I had reclassed to what do you call it, NBC, chemical stuff. And then I got out there, and I was out there for a couple of months, and had to have my shoulder worked on. So I was like, it's time to go. So I got a medical discharge, and was finally let out in March of 27 of 09.
09. Yeah. So it's unusual when you get the med board to get reclassified, but this is like 2008, 2007, 2008. So there was the what's it called? The surge was happening at the time. So they were holding on to all personnel that they could at the time, right?
Right.
So they probably kept you longer than they otherwise would have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they said they reclassified you to chemical. All right. What was it? So were you thinking of the military as a career at that stage?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's could have been a letdown.
Yeah, it was. Because I had given them, they tell you once they tell you you're able to reclass, you submit 3 jobs that you'd like to do. And I submitted those 3 jobs, and I didn't get not one of them. I got something totally different, which chemical was not. And once I got to Fort Polk, it was a totally different world, from what I was used to.
It's Louisiana, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not necessarily Louisiana, but as far as like the way the military I was used to this military was just totally different for me. I'm used to combat MOS, which you're in the action. Now you're going to what they call a combat support MOS. And things were just run differently. Like we went to the field. When I always went to the field, our vehicles were stationed towards the enemy, facing them. Well, we go to the field with them, and everything's faced in, and I'm like, what are we doing here? This is just not.
Yeah.
Like if we all go to leave, we're all going to run into each other.
Yeah.
You should face that way. You take an area and go. And just the way that.
Also, you're looking the wrong way, guys.
We're supposed to be facing the enemy with your guns faced that way. We're not trying to shoot each other.
Yeah.
And just the way things were run was just, I wasn't used to it. I mean, like the first sergeant, he had a type A personality, and I was used to combat unless you took care of each other. Well, with him, he was like, if I wasn't yelling at the soldiers, I was wrong. Like, I'm not one to holler at a soldier for no reason if they're not doing anything wrong. It's not my mentality. So he quickly got me out of his company and sent me up to the division headquarters. It was like 4 of us that had reclass. We were all combat MS. It was me, a tanker, and 2 infantry guys. He got rid of all of us.
Do you think that's ego, man? That's got to be.
It was. Because we weren't the type of leaders he wanted us to be. But we came out from combat MOSs where you take care of your guys. You take care of everybody. It's no,
Yeah.
We just don't holler at our guys just to holler at them,
Exactly. It's about. I mean, as your lieutenant colonel kind of showed, it's about leading as opposed to like screaming.
Right. Because those guys are when the crap hits the fan, those are the guys that's gonna,
haul your ass out of there.
Be there for you. But if you're constantly hollering at them, they're gonna be like, "We're not gonna help you. We're not gonna protect you."
So that's the first time I think I've heard like the difference between like combat MOSs and support MOSs described that way. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And everything there was officer run, which an officer's job is to do paperwork and do the combat planning. It's not to get into soldiers' business. That's soldiers is what the NCOs do. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. We soldier. We lead soldiers. Officer's job is to plan what we're supposed to do, plan the mission, tell us how you want the mission run, and then you get out the way and let us do it. We're soldier. That's what we do. But there, everything was. I asked my platoon sergeant, hey, can I do something? Well, let me ask the lieutenant. No, you make the decision. You're the platoon leader. You tell me. You're the platoon sergeant. You make the decision. Don't ask the officer.
Yeah.
He's busy with other stuff. So, but that's how I was up there. It was just everything had to go through the officers.
What was wrong with your shoulder?
I tore my labrum.
Ah.
Yeah. And then I got a bad knee.
Also from the weight, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would have loved it. I'd still be, it's the easiest job in the world. Most of the days we do what we're doing here, we just sit around and talk. Really, the only time you work is when you go out in the field training or you get deployed. Other than that, you have one big family just having a good old time and getting paid for it. Who wouldn't want that, You get paid to sit around and talk and get paid to go out and shoot guns and blow stuff up and have a good laugh when you blow it up and
carry on,
go out in the field and have a blast and play cards and train and come back and play cards.
So when you were getting out, you do you remember like leaving the base when you were done?
Fort Polk, yes. Yeah. That's the worst place in the world. So yeah, I remember. Had I been leaving from Fort Stewart, I probably would have been like, man, this is just crazy. I loved it there. I was 3 hours from home, but yeah, when I left Fort Polk, yeah.
Your family had joined you in Louisiana?
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's the other thing, is that you're moving your family like with each of these new stations,
yeah.
Right? So how long had you been at Fort Polk when you were boarded out or medically retired?
8 months, maybe.
8 months?
I wasn't there long. So, it was the worst. I couldn't have been there any longer. I probably would have had a breakdown.
Wow.
That's how bad it was. It was miserable. When I was at Stewart, I didn't mind. You kind of like getting up, going to formation, doing PT, and going back to work. But for Polk, you're like, oh man, for real. Can it just rain or something? You have to go to PT, something. Can we have a class schedule so you don't have to go see the first sergeant or anything like that? It was miserable. It was a miserable 8 months for me.
Yeah.
You walk in, the first sergeant holler your name. Moore, come here. It's like, what do I do now? You try to think back of what you've done. Well, I didn't do anything. And then you call you in his office. Why didn't you get on such and such when they walked in the back door last night? It's just crazy.
What was it like initially, like for you adjusting to like post-military life?
I actually struggled with it because I actually loved it. I was like, man, I miss it. I just miss putting on the uniform. I just miss being around the guys. And you come home and you really don't. You don't have a job. You don't have anything to do. When you're going from every minute of your day is blocked out. You know what you're doing. You wake up and you're like, well, what do I do? It's like, what do I do? There's nothing for me to do. I don't have a job. What do I do? So it's just like, then you get to thinking back, and you miss it. I still miss it sometimes today. You see soldiers in uniform, you're like, man, I wish just a little bit of me wishes I could still wear that uniform,
Yeah.
Still be out there leading. Where I could be today, it'd be, 14 years in, where I would be
6 years out from retirement.
6 years from retirement, but so, but.
Did you, and so how long, were you unemployed directly afterwards, or what were your options at that stage?
I was unemployed, and I was still getting, they gave me $40,000 to get out, my medical separation. So I kind of had that, to live off for a little bit, pay bills and stuff. And then I think it was, I had my shoulder, I got out in March, I had my shoulder surgery in June or May. Might have been the end of May. Or June. Somewhere in that time frame. And then right before that, I had submitted for the police academy at Central Florida Community College. I actually got approved for it, and then I was supposed to go to a meeting and then found out my mom was sick. So I didn't go, and then so subsequently I wasn't allowed to go to the academy because I missed that important orientation meeting. And I tried to explain to her, look, my mom is sick, she's on her deathbed. And so that didn't work out for me. And then it's like 4 days after Michael Jackson died, my mom died. So I went to Maryland, and I came back, and I was still kind of in a limbo. And then I went to a job fair at Central Florida in the Marion County juvenile justice system. They were looking for people. So I gave them my resume, and the officer was like, wow, this is impressive. So they called me, and I went and worked there for a little bit. And then I seen the VA was hiring for housekeepers. I was like, well, I can do that. That's at least gets my foot in the door, and I can move up. And so I got started there at the VA in January of 2010. And I wasn't in housekeeping but 3 months, and then I moved to a different department. So.
And you work at the VA now?
Mm-hmm.
What capacity now?
I'm a program support assistant, almost like kind of like a secretary. I get charts together for the nurses on their patients when they go to see them at their home and stuff like that, and keep data charts in the computer system up to date. So.
That's gonna feel like a little bit of coming full circle, right? Like you were working in the military, and now you're like still helping out.
Right. Yeah. It is kind of gratifying. You still get to help out in a way. You're still helping out. Now you're helping out still your brothers,
Mm-hmm.
just in a different way now. You're helping them out with their health and stuff like that.
Do you no need to answer this if it's not? Do you have a disability rating?
Yes, I'm 80%.
80%, and that's your back.
No, by the back, shoulder, knee, ankle. I have sleep apnea, and then PTSD.
Okay. When did the PTSD become apparent?
I want to say after my first deployment, probably 2 or 3 months after that. But it didn't come apparent to me until I was actually out,
Mm-hmm.
For good. I noticed I was quick to get angered, especially towards my kids. I was quick to just go off on them for no reason. They might do something that's typical of a kid to do, but I would just, explode. And I always wanted to be by myself. So the family could be out in the living room enjoying a show or something, and I'd want to get away from that. So I would go in my room and shut the door and just, be by myself. Where I didn't have to necessarily worry about anything, or,
Mm-hmm.
the kids were out there playing and getting a little loud. They could do that without worrying about me,
Yeah.
just
Losing your temper.
losing my temper and telling them to be quiet, calm down. When they're just innocent kids having fun, they didn't have to worry about that. So that's when it didn't really hit me about that until I got out. I was like, something ain't right. If I went into large crowds, I would back myself in the corner to where I could just be aware of everything, Couldn't be comfortable in large crowds. I'm just constantly looking around like, who's what, kind of always being aware of your surroundings. And loud stuff, I can't stand for anything to be loud. I'm not able to focus if it's loud.
So it's like, is it like, well, there's two things here. On the one hand, it's like hypervigilance. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
And is the other one that you kind of associate loud noise with like trauma? Do you think, or
Just, I don't know.
I'm just trying to understand. I
Yeah,
don't want to pry.
you're not able to hear things.
Yeah.
If everything is real loud,
Mm-hmm.
you're not able to focus, and you might hear something that doesn't sound right, that you want to be able to
Understood.
investigate it. You know what I mean?
Understood.
Yeah. If you hear something, if everything is real loud and you can't hear something that happens, that you might have to feel you need to go investigate.
The same vigilance thing. It's just yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you're like looking at a wall or you can't hear, like the problem is you're not able to take in your surroundings.
Right. I'm not aware of my surroundings. I don't know what's going on, and that frustrates me when I don't
Yeah, I'm sure.
understand, or don't have a grasp of what's going on in my surroundings. It's not. I get real nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so So when you went into the VA and you got the disability rating, did they medicate you, or did they take you to suggest that you take counseling or
Both.
peer counseling, all of that?
Medication and then counseling. We have group sessions and individual sessions.
Okay. So, as somebody who works in the VA, this may not be a fair question to kind of ask, but mixed reviews for the VA's kind of performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think about that?
I personally think the VA is a good system. I just think some of the older veterans are not understanding how many new veterans are coming into the system. And the VA we have here in Gainesville is the biggest one east of Mississippi.
Wow.
So, we service all of North Florida and all of South Georgia.
Wow.
So the more of the OAF veterans you have coming in, you only have so many doctors in the system for each department. And so they're trying to fit everybody in, and the newer veterans, have to be seen within 14 days. So it kind of makes every department have it might be a little bit before you get in the system, which an older veteran, is understandably going to aggravate them because they want to be taken care of too in a timely manner, which I think why the VA started the choice program where, if you live 40 miles away, you can go to a local doctor instead of having to wait the time it would take you to get into a doctor here, and then you can go to a doctor of your choice also.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what it is. It's just probably 20 years ago, they could come to this VA and get in right away. But now you have more veterans that are getting out and wanting to utilize the system. It's backlogging everybody, and it's causing them to be frustrated because, you can ask. Imagine you can ask 20, say, veterans of the Vietnam era, and maybe 10 of them use the system. The other 10 would be like, I don't feel I did enough, or I don't feel I necessarily need to use the system. So now they're used to that, where they can just get in and get taken care of, and now it's becoming a log jam with all the younger OAF veterans that are getting out of the military and utilizing the VA, which is causing a backlog.
Yeah.
See the doctor, which I can understand how they get frustrated because I would too, but sometimes you have to be patient.
Yeah, but it's been good to you.
Oh yeah, very good to me. I have nothing bad to say.
I've got two more questions, and then I'm going to ask if you guys have any questions. The one question is, and I know that you've spoken about this a fair amount, but when I'm putting this together, it's always nice to have language that.
Right.
If you're looking back over your years of service and your time in the military, and you were a little older getting in,
mm-hmm.
like how did it change you? How did it shape you?
Well, I'd say it matured me. I think when I went in, I still kind of wasn't fully matured, even though I was 24. It made me become more respectful, I guess, for the things that we have here in America and in life. After seeing the way they live over there and the stuff they have to go through, makes you be, I guess, more appreciative too. Mm-hmm. It makes me more of a better husband and father, and it makes you just appreciate the time, that you have with your family and the time that you can spend with them now, because of the time that you did spend away. You get to make up for that time you spent away. But this makes you, to me, this made me a better person, I think, all around. They teach you a lot of things. Believe it or not, they teach you a lot of things, a lot of discipline. They teach you a lot of discipline that, therefore, I can take that I learned there and apply it to my kids, and teach them things that I was taught there. Planning, good planning skills. You can learn how to plan your day. That's a lot of skills, actually.
How's your wife doing? Crohn's disease.
Yeah, she's doing pretty good. She had a surgery like 3 weeks ago, so she's doing better now.
Okay, good.
It's not a fun disease.
No, it's not.
Not at all.
It's degenerative, right? Or is it not?
No, it's
It's autoimmune.
yeah, autoimmune.
Autoimmune, that's the thing, right? Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted
That's
to check
okay.
in.
It's
Just wanted
fine.
to check in. And the
Appreciate
other question is, if you had a group of civilians and you could lay down some home truths about what they should know about veterans or about the military, or like what is it that you would want them to know to step away from you knowing?
What I would want them to know.
Or what should they know? You know?
What should they know? Oh, that's a good question.
Thanks.
Oh. I guess some things they should know that it's not an easy life for a veteran and also for his family. You spend a lot of time away, and actually, if you think about it, we have it easy when we deploy. We don't have to worry about anything. It's the wife at home. She has the burden of everything: pay the bills, feed the kids, get them dressed, make sure they get to school, do their homework. If they do extracurricular events, get them to that. She's probably has it rougher than us, even though we're over there, we're risking our lives. But just to know that veterans, we deal with we have a lot of stuff that we deal with that a lot of people don't know about when we come back. A lot of struggles and a lot of stuff that we try to cope with, but sometimes it's hard for us. And just to be understanding that if we get angry sometimes, it's not necessarily towards them or something that they did. It's just stuff that we deal with, and we have to learn to cope with it and to be, what do I want to say, to be, maybe to learn about stuff that, we go through when we do go to combat, to study up on it, to be more understanding, because it's hard for us to, like, when civilians ask us about, the war and stuff like that, it's kind of hard for us to really talk to them about it because they don't really know, what to say. Really, all they say is, I'm sorry you had to do that. And for us, it's more comforting if we, have somebody on the other side that knew what we did, so they could say, yeah, I know I had this experience also, and this is how I cope with it. So maybe they could research more or somehow find ways to be more, when we talk to, be more understanding, and somehow able to, maybe if they went through some sort of situation like that, but not necessarily in war, but in the civilian side, kind of that can relate.
Try to understand.
Right.
Is that part of the difficulty, I think, this is my sense, is that it's difficulty for a lot of the veterans, is that there's this real sense of isolation within civilian society for veterans.
Right.
Precisely because civilians are like, they want to back slowly away when the conversation gets to something that they're not comfortable with.
Right. And if they don't agree with it, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So it's like, who are you left to talk to about it, Sometimes that's all the veteran wants to do is just borrow somebody's ear so they can tell their story, and get it off their chest. Something might be bothering them, and they just want to tell their story, and for you to lend them their ear. And sometimes, people just don't want to.
So that's like a service that civilians can bring to veterans is to listen.
Right.
And not just, it's not just like present an ear, but like listen and try to understand. And
right. And, like, try to give us, if something horrific happened in their life, they could kind of, probably won't be as much or horrific as something that we've seen or gone through, but they could kind of use that to kind of talk with us too, and say, well, look, I had this happen to me before. I kind of understand how you're feeling. It's not a good feeling,
Yeah.
I didn't have the same feeling you had, but I had, a feeling of sense of something, it bothered me also.
I'm kind of hearing, we were talking about this yesterday, but like, I'm kind of hearing what you're saying is like, don't pretend that just because you're a civilian means you don't have any way of understanding anything.
Right. Something tragic has happened in your life at some point in time. Yeah. Something's happened where you've went through a difficult time, or
Don't stigmatize me for what I've gone through.
Right.
Understood.
Yeah.
I think that's important to say. Yeah.
Very.
Do you have any questions?
Kind of wondering sort of where you're at today. On a day-to-day basis, where are you today?
I've kind of not necessarily put it totally behind me, but I've kind of, just now I'm kind of been out so long, I'm kind of setting my daily routines, and I kind of, just parenting. I have a 16-year-old and two 11-year-olds.
Twins?
Yeah.
Twins off. Was that after you got out?
Yeah.
2000. Oh,
Well, that was actually we had them in September of 2004.
that's an interesting detail.
And I deployed in January of 2005, so I wasn't there for the whole first. I missed some walking, crawling, talking.
So you had the 5-month-old when you went the first time, and then you had the twins when you went the second time. Wow. Okay.
I missed a whole year of their life. They were 3 months when I left. And they were over a year old when I got back.
And did your wife have a fair amount of support? at
Yes,
home?
we lived in Georgia where I was stationed, and we actually moved. Luckily, the house right beside my mother-in-law was for rent, so she moved there. So my mother-in-law could just walk 15 feet and be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were saying you're parenting the 16 and the 11-year-old?
Yeah. So I just, going to work and doing that, and then I coach. So coach sports in the afternoons, and just kind of gotta, my mind's not kind of like focused or thinking about that too much anymore. Sometimes, no, because I take sleep medicine. I used to, but now that I take sleep medicine, I had to because I couldn't. I would toss and turn the whole night, wake up, and I couldn't never get a good 7 hours of sleep. So I had to get sleep medicine so I could sleep. So
Yeah.
without that, I'm not sleeping.
Did you self-medicate at all?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
It's a very straightforward question.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I
Yeah.
just knew I had to get something to help me sleep though, because I was tossing and turning the whole. Sometimes it would take me to 2 or 3 in the morning to finally get settled down and sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only question I would be curious about, what if one of your kids came to you and wanted to go join the military?
Go. 100%. I tell any kid these days, it's the best job in the world. You make a lot of money doing it. Go and enjoy it and get the best out of it. And I tell them too to make sure they get a job that they can use when they get out in the civilian world. That's where I felt I didn't get a job. The only thing I could do when I got out was be a cop or a construction worker.
Yeah. Did you have access to the GI Bill?
I used that to get my. I have a medical office administration degree from College of Central Florida.
Okay.
Yep. So I used that to get that degree.
Is there anything you would add?
No.
No?
No.
It's been an absolute pleasure, sir. I've learned a lot. Thank you so much.
It was a
Much
pleasure.
appreciated.
Thank you.